Hey everybody, wishing you all a happy new year. We are starting with another topic video today. I get a lot of questions about how I select the movies each week that I review. So I figured, I would take you through a little bit of the process, though I don't know why, because there isn't much of a process, at least from my point of view. I think I need to explain something, and those of you who are, frequent watchers have, I'm sure, figured this out a long time ago, but I am the laziest YouTuber in existence. I promise you that. I am so lazy, and I know what my strengths are. My strengths are more, in the words, in the content, knowing who you are, I think. But in terms of the marketing, yeah, I'm shit at that. I don't know what's popular. I don't know what's trending. I don't study the algorithms and know what I'm supposed to do in order to gain followers and all of that stuff, other than the obvious, maybe reviewing a new release or something like that. I'm a very aloof person, kind of one of those dreamers with their head always in the clouds. Like, I don't know how to be an adult, really. And I just don't pay attention to things I don't care about, to a fault. And I know for sure it's a detriment, but at the same time, I think in some ways it's also part of the appeal. At least that's what certain people have told me. I'll be quite honest, I listen to you guys to find out what kind of things are coming out, what sorts of things that I should be looking into that are in terms of the more current releases or things that are coming out. And I do that mostly through Patreon. I have a lot of people that give me suggestions and things, at least in terms of new releases, and Twitter as well. But yeah, I have almost no organizational system when it comes to selecting the movies. I didn't start making a list of things, like a to-do list for reviews, until a few months ago. And I've done this for what, 10 years? More than 10 years? And I just started doing that. And I only did it because, time goes by very quickly. And sometimes it's like, oh shit, I've got to do a review this week. I haven't even planned anything. What should I review? And it just helps to have something to be like, that one, great, awesome. It's just easier because anytime I would try to think of something in the moment, I would always forget the most obvious ones that I had meant to get to. And I try to update the list semi-frequently. Just anytime someone mentions a movie, you should do that. I should add it to the list. I get tons of recommendations from people all the time, every single day. And some people get mad when I do not follow through on it. And it's like, look, I am one person and there are thousands and thousands of you. I do read the recommendations, but not too many. It's one of those things where if certain ones stand out to me, I'll be like, ooh, yeah, that's a really good idea. Or if I see enough of something consistently, I'll start to go, okay, clearly the people are wanting that from me, so I should look into it. And even if I don't do it right away, I tend to get to it eventually. For me, what's most important about, keeping the channel is what drives it. Why are you still doing it? Is it still important to you? If I can answer those questions well, then, I want to keep going with it, and I still can. This is one of those things that you really have to want to do, because you do not get compensated much at all. You've got to really want to do it. And so I try to find that balance a little bit more now between the things that I know will get the views and the things that people want to see from me, you guys, and also the stuff that I really enjoy, the stuff that I really want to talk about that maybe I don't see very often online people reviewing. People may not believe this about me, but for years, and even now, it's not about the views to me so much. I mean, yes, now it is a little bit more about the views because, I get more money from that and I need that money. But overall, I don't do it for that. That's not why I came on here. It was much less about the amount of subscribers and the views and all that, and much more about the content, just hoping that I could reach certain people that had interests like my own, because I didn't have that in my normal everyday life. And I would love to keep it that way, doing the things that I really want to do, but at the same time, reviewing things like Wonder Woman and stuff like that, that's where the money comes from. And when you need it, that's going to motivate you a little bit more to do that. But again, I don't want to completely go over to that side where I'm only doing the mainstream accessible stuff, because that loses who I am. And identity is very important to me. So what I've been trying to do lately, though it's not always successful, just depending on the schedule and what I have available to me at the time, I try to do like one review for me, one review for the people. Now, it doesn't always work out that way, but for the most part, it's like I want to do something that is more niche, that is maybe a little bit more experimental or hidden. Hopefully I can bring it to light to people who maybe haven't heard of it. And then I will go and do something bigger, especially like over Christmas, movies like Mank came out and Wonder Woman. So I could review Mank, and then I could review Aguirre, the Wrath of God. Then I can do Wonder Woman. So, that's a lot of different stuff. And with a movie like Aguirre, The Wrath of God, I may not get many views for it in the beginning because it's not a new release. It's a film from a long time ago, but, reviews like that don't exist as much on YouTube. So you may start out with less views, but over time, it's going to rise and rise and rise. Whereas with the new movies, you're going to start off really high, getting a lot more views than you normally would, and then it's going to slowly start to decrease. So it kind of balances each other out. My most popular reviews tend to be classic films. Now, I know that's because I review a lot more classic films than I do the newer movies, but yeah, over time, those grow. Like, I think my number one most popular review is Irreversible, and that film came out in 2002, but I think it's because you don't see many reviews of that online, because it is a very touchy film and a very taboo film, but that's something that I'm not afraid to dive into head on, and I think that's why the presence grew from that. So ultimately, I think it just comes down to being honest with yourself. If you're doing this because you want only money and only want, fame and accolades, then I feel like that really defeats the purpose. And I can usually tell pretty early on the people that are more interested in being noticed compared to the people who actually want to say things about the work because they care about the work itself and they care about it getting out into the world more. That's more what I'm interested in. So yes, I do this for me, and I'm very honest about that. I also do it for you guys, but it's very important to keep it for yourself. And I don't think that that's necessarily a selfish thing, because you've got to be happy too. If you are a content creator, I've got to be happy as well. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not a huge people pleaser. And I mean, I am, in the sense that, yes, I really like making people happy. That certainly motivates me and drives me. And I like doing things that I know will please people in that sense. But I don't mean like, oh, I sit there and I obsess over what are people thinking about me, and I just want to be perfect for them. That is so not how I think. I'm not worried so much about, audience approval or people not liking me, because that's just not where my insecurities lie as a person. Most of my insecurities are more personal and have nothing to do with this sort of stuff. So this is more kind of my sweet spot, which is good, because then I can just kind of go and talk with, as much confidence as I want to. And I think that that's good, because at least I hope it makes me look like I'm really invested in what I'm talking about. Yes, sometimes I know maybe I'm not in it and I'm not feeling it, and that comes off. And, I apologize for that. But I think, with me, when I watch a new YouTube video from a content creator that I've never heard of, within 5 seconds, if you want to turn the video off. You can just feel it. It's in the body language. It's in the timbre of their voice. It's how they project. It's the tone of voice. It's what they say, most importantly, and all that. And I mean, it takes 5 seconds, maybe even less. So I'm never going to be like, oh my God, hey guys, how you doing? And doing those kind of big, kind of obnoxious openings, because that's just not my style. To me, that's a little bit desperate. Everything I do, I want to do it with conviction. Art films, as you all know, are naturally my favorite things to cover. And often when I do a review of those movies, they tend to be more of a loose format, where I've had to watch it multiple times because I feel it deserves to be seen multiple times before I really talk about it. So then it becomes, less of like a typical movie review and more of a kind of skeletal analysis of it as well. But a lot of people say like, oh, this isn't a movie review, this is analysis or whatever. And it's like, I think movie review is a broad term. A movie review, you are reviewing the film, examining it in multiple ways, and you can approach it in any way that you want. And of course, when I do a newer film that maybe I've only had an opportunity to see just once, and it's my initial reaction that I'm bringing to you, yeah, it's probably going to be a little bit shorter. It's going to be more like your standard movie review that you would see. And yeah, those aren't going to be well thought out. Like my Wonder Woman review. Saw it one time, talked about it. Again, I'm always looking at suggestions while listening to my inner voice the whole time. I'm always considering new films that I'm interested in, whether they're older or whether they're newer. I watched a couple movies over Christmas break as an example that, I figured why not just turn it into a review. So a couple of those are coming up, even if no one has asked for them necessarily. I'm still going to do them because I want to. You'll notice if I review a shorter movie, it's because I'm tired or I'm busy and I don't have time to sit there and watch, a 3-hour movie twice over. And sometimes if I'm feeling maybe just jaded or like, I just don't have the time or whatever, you might notice I might review something a little bit lighter, something a little more like escapist entertainment, something where I don't have to think so hard. But I do find that when I go back into those movies that are more kind of escapist entertainment and stuff like that, it helps me get excited, titillated, if you will, to get back into the artsy stuff, because it's like, it's getting those surface creative juices flowing. And then I'm going to sink deeper and I'm going to get back to my sweet spot, the things that I really do enjoy the most. I get my most passionate when I'm talking about movies like Possession, as an example, or Three Women, Apocalypse Now, Inland Empire, Irreversible, stuff like that. I don't know why, but I find it the easiest to talk about movies like that. I find it harder reviewing, like Wonder Woman as an example, compared to something like Irreversible. I'd much rather do that. I guess it's because there's never a shortage of things to talk about. Ideas are constantly opening up, and there's just so much there. And it can be overwhelming at times, and that review certainly was for Irreversible. But, compared to something like, I don't know, Spider-Man, there's just a lot more to chew on. There are certain films that I'm very scared of, and I admit that. I've seen my share of Tarkovsky films, but have always been a little bit hesitant in terms of reviewing it, because I know that people really want it, and I want it to be really good. I'm scared to review Orson Welles' The Trial. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, and yet I think my respect for it, as well as my respect for Tarkovsky, is such that I just really want to do it justice. Renoir films as well. There's a lot of different films that I would like to get to, and I haven't yet, but they are on my list, and I promise you that I will get to them. But yeah, as I said, I'm just not your typical movie reviewer, though I do think that I come at it with a lot of passion, even though it may be a little rough around the edges. It may not always come across like it does from other people, but it is something that I really care about. And just in life, period, I've always said this, but like everything is about finding this balance, where you're not completely in control, but you're not out of control. You're just kind of in between there. I think that is the perfect place to be. There's a lightness to it, and something that's very in the moment and immersive, and that's very important. And so as long as I can kind of keep that, at least at most in my peripherals, I think I'm doing okay. And as far as YouTube goes, I think I'm doing okay there. But yes, so there, I'm finally answering the question about how I select the movies that I do. We'll keep up with the topic videos throughout the year, hopefully, as much as I can this year. But that is the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. All of my Patreon supporters are here. If you'd like to check out my website, it is deepfocuslens.com. I am an artist, and I do commission portraits, and I sell prints as well. So if that's something you're interested in, you're welcome to look at the shop, and you can email me if you have questions, send me ideas. I'm happy to work with you. So if you're willing to support, that would be wonderful, because, I love being creative, and also, I need money. Beyond that, all of my social media is below. You can watch more videos here, and you can subscribe if you'd like. Catch you next time.